Hey, what's happening? It's another edition of the podcast show in living color. At least I hope we're all here living here tonight. Let's get Brian, you're with us here tonight.
I am here
Jonathan
and alive.
with us. Hey, how's it going? We got a special guest here tonight. We got the commissioner's with us here tonight as well. All right.
Welcome, Commissioner Plechnik.
Tonight, we're going to talk about some of this DEI stuff that's going on, particularly how it pertains to Cracker Barrel and also the mass shooting in Minneapolis. And we want to delve in. We're going to really delve into some interesting facts about all of this. You know, the most amazing thing is that no one is making the connection between these, when we go to the shootings, let's say, the trans and the actual committing of the crime. But we will uncover that. But before we uncover that, I'm going to go over to the Cracker Barrel and talk about that for a minute because, you know, there's been some updates with the Cracker Barrel, and it's kind of interesting. So, you know, it seems like it happened so long ago. It was just August 18th. That's not very long ago. And they launched that new logo design, if you remember. It's a brand refresh. That's what they said it was, a brand refresh.
You talk about plain vanilla. Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand what a refresh is, because all they did was get rid of everything. They got rid of the old timer. They got rid of the barrel. They got rid of the Old Country Store logo underneath it. Okay, the lady's name is CEO Julie Messino. And she joined Cracker Barrel in 2023 with a mission to make it more DEI friendly. Okay, she came from Starbucks and Taco Bell. So here's some of the things she wanted to do. She wanted to get rid of all that clutter. Okay, I mean that's what makes the store worthwhile. All that clutter, you got to get rid of, got to clean it up. You know, sanitize, sterilize the store, basically.
The only thing she got rid of was $100 million in valuation, I think.
Well, Brian, in her defense, I think she also got rid of all their customers.
Yes, that's true. Those darn customers.
Well, they don't say you go woke, go broke for nothing. And this is just a classic case right here. Now, some of the things she wanted to introduce were higher prices. I mean, that's going to really go over well. Then she wanted to push the pride agenda onto the porch. Can you imagine how that would have went over eventually? See, this was
probably
all her
cut down
ideas
the
in the
offerings
works.
too. Yeah, jeez.
So you'd go out on that front porch. Everybody wants to sit in those rocking chairs. There'd probably be all the different rainbow colors, you know. I mean, that's just going to go over so well. That whole new logo design, everything. She's not thinking, right? This woke stuff.
Is she still the president there? Is she still the CEO? Or?
Yeah, she's still CEO. As of August 31st, she's still the CEO.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's still the CEO.
She may want to start cleaning out her desk. You know.
Yeah, so she dropped $100 million in market value in like 1 or 2 days. $100 million in the stock market. And you know how much they spent to come up to redesign the logo and come up with this great idea that they were slowly going to implement? $700 million.
$700 million?
Wow.
They spent $700 million with this whole marketing campaign, and it just backfired. It's just unbelievable. And a lot of people think that the old timer, you know, the name Cracker Barrel is not because of the old timer sitting next to the barrel. A Cracker Barrel had biscuits in it. And in the 1850s, 1860s, I was reading about this. So that's how they transported the biscuits. They would make biscuits and transport them that way in a barrel. And then they would turn the barrel upside down. They have a table, you know. I think people still do that today. So that's what the whole idea of it was, a Cracker Barrel. But they got rid of the barrel. They got rid of the guy. They got rid of everything there.
Well, what was? Do you know the significance of what's his name? Herschel? Was that the character on the logo? Was he
Uncle
a founder?
Herschel. Uncle Herschel.
Yeah, or was he? That was just an image that they wanted for the Cracker Barrel. So it's got no significance to the company. Is that right? I mean, as far as
I think it was a relative actually.
Oh,
I think
really?
It was a relative that they used as as the design logo for it and everything.
Yeah.
Now, the founder, he's a 93-year-old. He was the co-founder, Dan Evans. Now, I watched it. I saw him on TV. He was talking about it. He was not happy. He's 93. He's starting to lose his marbles a little bit.
Dan Evans? Dan Evans? Did you?
Yeah,
Not
Dan
related
Evans.
to Bob Evans, is he? Or?
No, I guess not. But so that's pretty interesting. But the whole concept there of going woke, going broke, the whole idea of this concept. This woman, this CEO, she had all women marketing group. Okay, they were all women. So where's the diversity? There, she's a woman. She has all women in the marketing campaign for the $700 million marketing campaign. So it's just like, what? Who does all this, and why would you do all this? And then I got to show you this real quick, and I can get you guys' take on some of this stuff here. But
So let's start with Nashville Pride. Yes, Cracker Barrel is a proud sponsor of Nashville Pride and have been part of it for over a decade, along with participating for multiple years in Evansville, Indiana's Third River City Pride event. They even made LGBTQ plus rocking chairs
There
for
you
these Pride
go.
events. The same Pride rocking chair that they put
there, you see that? That's what she wants out on the front porch everywhere. That was their goal right there. That's going to go over
front
real
and
well.
center in their Tennessee corporate office.
All right. So we're going to talk about the mass shooting and everything, but let me just go around the horn real quick. Jonathan, so you're a big Cracker Barrel fan, I think.
Okay, so the first thing is the more important logo to be concerned about is the Cleveland Indians, because Cracker Barrel did actually reverse themselves, and they're not going to change to that goofy, plain vanilla, awful logo that they were proposing. So a few days later, there was a public announcement. They said, we've listened to our customers, and we listen, and we're not changing the logo. So the old guy and the Cracker Barrel stays. That's a public announcement that they've made. But Joe, I've posted this, I've said it, I've got a long form post on Substack. There was no mistake, and there wasn't go woke, go broke. There wasn't money lost. The people who planned this got exactly what they wanted. They got filthy rich off of destroying Cracker Barrel. They've done it to other brands before, and this is where the public gets a little confused and can get lost easily. But there's big money to be made in destroying things. I'm going to leave it fairly simply at that. If you want more detail, you can look for my posts. I spell it out and explain in brief a few things to know about what's happening to brands like Ford, John Deere, Target, the things like them that have gone woke. Here's something that everyone should be aware of. A recent newspaper article points to stock bonuses paid to the chairman of those companies of an average of $16.7 million for 1 year. That's for destroying the companies. There are people out there that know how to create tremendous wealth for themselves out of destroying companies, currency, and things like them. We point often to George Soros. Soros has a long history of devaluing currencies like the British pound sterling. He made a fortune off of destroying that currency. He's now, I believe, working on the US dollar. But all of the people who say it was some sort of mistake and gosh, this woman was out of her league and what was she thinking? None of that is true. The truth of the matter is that that's by design, and a great number of people made vast fortunes off of the destruction of the Cracker Barrel brand.
Yeah, I got you there too. And, we got the commish with us here tonight. It's good to see you, John. But, it's interesting. They've gotten so much publicity, and even Trump jumped in and he said, if you guys just reverse your course and everything, you're the publicity that's going out everywhere. Everybody's talking about Cracker Barrel. So if they just reverse it, they can do really well with all their marketing. But what do just any thoughts on that whole DEI stuff?
So I don't disagree with Jonathan that market manipulation is very real. But where my viewpoint might be a bit different is that there is an overarching agenda here. Whether one individual instance is more about the money or not, there is an overarching agenda to ultimately proselytize and indoctrinate the American people into being the dumbest sheeple on planet Earth. That is the goal of a subset of billionaires and ne'er-do-wells that have tried to run this country for the last 30, 40 years. And the only real setback they've had is President Donald J. Trump. And if this were under the Biden administration, if this were under the Harris administration, God forbid Trump had lost, I mean, there would be there would be a multi-gendered clown as the new logo of Cracker Barrel, and that would stand. I mean, let's just be real. They'd be drinking Bud Light as the new exclusive drink of Cracker Barrel, because money or no, there's ways to steal from us. 7 Ways to Sunday, their main agenda is to push their indoctrination down our throats, and only in the Trump era do we actually have a big enough swing and a hard enough punch to stop it.
I don't disagree with any of that. Spot on.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, so here's Trump chiming in. He goes, "Congratulations, Cracker Barrel, changing your logo back to what it was." So there he is, and here he is. Here's Trump was hoping for this logo right here, America First. He's got that big oil can. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But I want to switch gears here for a minute and we're going to stay on kind of this topic here, but I wanted to go over to the sad news about that shooting that took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and just discuss that a little bit here, because it's all in the same thing. It was a trans shooter, and we need to just get a little bit of information behind the scenes here that they're not talking about with the trans shooter. Let's see what we got here. First of all, his name was Robert Westman, but when he was 17 years old, he became a she, and he changed his name to Robin Westman. So that's pretty young, 17 years old. Obviously, I'm sure the parents... Now, it's interesting, in his journal, I want to just give a little background on this. In his journal, he was mad at his mom originally for not allowing him to become a trans, and then she, I guess, agreed to it when he was like 17 or something, and he became a trans. A very dysfunctional family, very dysfunctional. But it's interesting, in 2025 then, shortly before the whole mass murder and everything, he is recording in 2025 in his journal that he regrets doing what he did. He wishes he had never done it. He's sick of being a woman, quote unquote, and he hates himself for being brainwashing. Now, he says he brainwashed himself, but I think it was a lot of adults that helped with that. But getting brainwashed into doing it. This is stuff that's not really hitting the news. This liberal news outlets that we have, the legacy media and everything, that's not the angle they want to take. The angle is guns. If we could just get rid of the guns. And like Cleveland.com was coming after J.D. Vance and saying, hey, we don't need prayers and thoughts and that kind of stuff. We need some action. Start banning guns, and how ridiculous that is. But I want to give you a little background here. He says that in 2025, he became fascinated with the Sandy Hook shooting. So he was really intrigued with that. Also, in 2025, he went out and bought a shotgun, and then he bought a high-powered rifle. And then around August 20th or so, he scoped out that Annunciation Catholic School. He also visited a range, did some practice shooting. But then it's also interesting, listen to this. He said that, he writes that, I don't want to effing do this. I hate myself. I cannot turn back, though. I cannot stop myself. Let me ask you guys something here. So, in a way, we can demonize this guy, and maybe we should. Maybe he is a demon. But also, when you've got those stupid chemicals that are going through your body and your mind and making... We've seen so many crazy things happen with these transgendered people. The suicide rate has skyrocketed. There's a lot of mass shootings associated with them. So to me, it's like we're screwing up their brains. We're screwing up their brains. What do you think about that, Brian? Is that part of it, or are these guys just demonically evil, or both, or what?
Well, it's very obvious there's an increase in mental illness, and I think we're doing a huge disservice to many of the children. And my goodness, you look at public schools, what they're doing in the public schools. Not if somebody even mentions they want to transition, all of a sudden they're not telling the parents what is going on in the school, and so it is all wrong. As a society, we've got to get back to some real common sense and how to really help these children. But it comes down to a breakdown of the family and immorality in our society. And people want to make money, selling the drugs.
Yeah. Well, Big Pharma makes a ton of money throughout all of this. They make lots and lots of cash, man. The big cash cow with money for those big pharmas. So how can we be so dumb? How can we not see this as for what it is? My question.
So this is a deeply sorrowful issue, and I remember sitting across the table with many of my best friends, school shooting after school shooting in the news, and trying to sort through how one human being could decide to take so many other human beings' lives for no reason, particularly a child. And I just had this realization that if you go back to colonial America, we had more guns than people. We certainly had mentally ill people back then too. So there's always been guns and there's always been mental illness. And yet Benjamin Franklin wasn't shooting up Thomas Jefferson's school. Why not? Fundamentally, I want to go back to what Brian Massey shared, which is it's a loss of our morality in society. Even the mentally ill, even those who had serious mental issues, still had this sense of right and wrong. Oh, if I murder someone, I might go to hell. If I do the right thing, no matter how hard it might be, heaven awaits. And as simple as that is, it's core to human morality to understand that there is an absolute right and wrong, as opposed to do whatever thou wilt, whatever feels good. There's nothing but moral relativism. And this moral relativism that we've preached, I think, has damaged all of our morality. But I don't think it's wrong to ignore the particular health issues in the trans community today. The reality is we really refuse to recognize any form of mental illness when it's politically inconvenient. No one wants to say that you're mentally ill because you think, because you're a 50-year-old man and you think you're a 6-year-old girl. We want to say, well, that's natural. That's just their choice. And no one wants to impinge on that, even if that individual might need serious help. It's politically inconvenient to say that for a whole group of people, including the medical industry, that make an enormous amount of money off of pushing the idea that we can change our genders like we change our clothes. The reality is, whether you like the gender you were born to or not, we do not have the science to change it. It's not a matter of they won't let you do it. You got an XY chromosome or you don't. You've got a double X chromosome or you don't. It cannot be changed. We do not have the technology. We probably never will. And it's lying to a child to say, well, you could be a girl if you want to, you could be a boy if you want to. You simply can't. Now, you can dress as a girl and you can dress as a boy, but the reality is children are confused and scared and insecure enough as they're going through school, socializing, puberty. You don't need to add this additional sexualization to it. We used to have this intrinsic understanding. Don't put that additional layer of pressure and complexity on children. Spare them that until they're old enough and in the safety of their own home to have these conversations with their parents, where they're in a place where they're ready to have those conversations. Now we're just throwing it all out there and seeing what sticks. And we're surprised when children who were always stressed in the very difficult process of growing up are suddenly being forced to throw up their hands and carry this new boulder, this new burden of sex and sexuality, which is really before they're ready for it, in my opinion. And I think that data is bearing that out pretty strongly. So I'd say it's really two things. In general, we've lost morality in society by arguing for this ridiculous idea of moral relativism. Do what thou wilt is literally the first commandment of Satanism. And we're ignoring mental health issues in what liberals have come to call the trans community, because it takes away from their narrative that we can all just pick genders like we pick our clothes. And the reality is we are who we are. Maybe you wish that you were over 6 feet tall, or you wish that you were a man or a woman, but these are things we can't change. We're born to be the people we are, like it or not. And telling people that they can do things that they can't, telling them they can fly, well, it doesn't actually give them the power to fly, but when they jump off the building, they go splat. And I think that a lot of folks, who were told that they could change their genders and be whatever they wanted to be, they realized they were lied to. And unfortunately, some people are reacting in terrible ways.
Yeah, well, this guy definitely was lied to because, so at age 17, he became a she. And then at age 25, he's like, why the hell did I do this to myself? Now, how do you undo it? How do you undo it? Mentally and everything, spiritually, you name it. It's just what a mess for somebody. And you're right, though. We put enough pressure on this young generation, and then we're going to add to it this insanity of constantly coaxing them to change and become the other sex. And it's driven by money. It's driven by big pharma more than anything. The whole thing. Here's a pattern. I got this off of X. Now I think it's true. You get a lot of these memes. You assume that they're accurate, but as you can see, a trans person has been involved in a lot of very, very big shootings. It's kind of sad here. Now, this particular person, as we said, he was shooting through the window of the church and just trying to pick off as many people as he can. That is not normal behavior. I guess one of the questions I have, and I don't know if you guys have an idea on this or not. I mean, Jonathan, hey, you can go anywhere you want with this, but is this a demonic thing? Is he like possessed by Satan, the devil, something like this, or is this those stupid chemicals in his brain just making him do this? I mean, it's such a horrific thing to do. It kind of makes you, I don't know which way to take it, but what do you think?
Well, I've made a series of notes. Biblical perspective is not yet one of them, but I'm happy to chime in on that as well. A few things. The first to know is money. It's an estimated $750,000 per child to surgically sterilize them. It's more profitable to transition, I'm air quoting that, girl to boy. That started in Southern California. Now there's a lot of data on these what do they call them? Transition support network people, whatever sort of euphemism they've come up with on the left for these gender affirmation or whatever they call it. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's surgically carving up and sterilizing children for profit. At $750,000 estimated lifetime between the surgery and turning them into lifetime subscription or prescription takers, that is a huge amount of money. And there are people out there that are just so morally reprehensible that they're happy to pursue that. A few things. There are actually a great number of detransitioners out there. You can find people like Aaron Brewer has an amazing story. There's a book called Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier wrote that, having to do with Southern California and the push that started 20 years ago that captured these children and got them into this process, this conveyor belt of surgery and prescription. And there are people that made fortunes just sucking money out of families and society and ruining lives by getting them, these kids, boys and girls, but mostly focusing on girls, into the sterilization process. The money is sick. It's just sickening and gross. The detransitioners, if we thought that those of us who questioned the COVID jabs were highly censored. Take a look at what's happening with detransitioners now. It's the same thing. They are made invisible. They are doxxed. They are banished from social media, canceled, you name it. But there is a great, very vibrant group of people out there that got some way down that path, and then they're forming support network for each other because they've maybe had a double mastectomy and had both breasts removed, or they've had their genitals carved up, or they started taking hormones and felt awful and realized, wait, I'm on the wrong path. And there's all kinds of data that shows that the kids who were caught in that sticky web have underlying emotional, lifestyle, or psychological issues that are unaddressed. So now we have somebody who regrets damaging their body and then starts to develop self-image issues, who's bankrupt now because they're giving away $750,000, but never address the underlying issue, which gets me to perhaps my most important point for our listening audience. And that is, the moment you hear people in politics and pharma and big government and our schools talking about mental health, throw the brakes on. Emergency brake immediately. Your county mental health board, your school district, Mike DeWine, all of them need to be stopped immediately. What they're talking about is not actually mental health. They're talking about counseling, and they're talking about putting people into school districts in the path of children who are designed now to disrupt, and they're completely the opposite of what you hope for. They are designed to build a block between parent and child and get the children onto that conveyor belt. We've massive amounts of data that show that. So as mental health issues become talked about and become more of a social public concern, and we get Mike DeWine like, oh, don't worry, we'll help. In our failing Ohio schools, we'll bring in these quack fake clinics, these quasi clinics, and we'll provide counseling to kids. BS. It is absolute hogwash. It's a money laundering operation to get more kids on that conveyor belt. I'm absolutely certain of it, and I believe that the data shows. One other piece to it, when you look at schools, one of the things that's not talked about, not nearly enough, is the soft target issue, or I call them unarmed victim zones. When you publish, when you are a known soft target and you broadcast to the world, and I'm looking at some of the school districts out there that have, for just mind-boggling reasons, have actually published and put statements out that they're unarmed. We considered the matter, and we decided that nobody here is going to be armed. It's so preposterous, it makes my brain ache. If you decide as a woke left school district not to arm anybody, fine. Don't broadcast it, for heaven's sakes. That's ridiculous. But many of them do. They put out these public statements. That's virtue signaling at its absolute worst. But soft targets, it's not being talked about very much, but the most recent shooting, in all that crazed writing that was in that journal, he said something about picking that school because he knew it was a soft target. He knew he wanted to go somewhere where he could inflict the most damage with the least likely repercussions. It's common sense. These people aren't going to the places that have some level of defense. They're going to commit these evil acts in places where they think they can do the most damage and harm. That's unarmed victim zones. I don't know how else to put it. There's actually a great X post by somebody I've discovered over the past few days, Mike BSKY, Mike BSKI. BSKI Mike 22802 is his X handle. I followed him and commented. I reposted it. He goes detail by detail, breaks it down, and then he cites his sources in reversing this whole narrative of trying to ban, hard on guns legislation. We need new gun legislation. Hogwash. It's complete BS, and all the data shows it. It's a great post from, let me look at the date of this post. He posted this. It's a long form post, but it's well worth it. Share it with everybody you've got. 9:02 a.m. on 29 August. And we've only got 22,000 views on this thing. It needs 40 times that. It's a great post. Find it, grab these details, and share it everywhere, because this is the stuff, these are the details that dismantle the left's argument that if only we have more gun legislation, then these terrible crimes won't be committed.
Right. If you only had more gun legislation, that would take care of everything. And as I was saying, if that's the problem, then why don't you just take the gun after the murders have taken place and everything, grab the gun and throw that in prison. Throw the gun literally in a prison cell for the next 30 years. I mean, that would stop everything. That's kind of
Joe, I want to react two ways to what Jonathan shared with us, just to really distill both points. Number one, as he talks about the broken system of mental health, I just want to think about how good God is and how simple it is to actually give mental health treatment and services to our neighbors. What human beings need is a loving family. What human beings need is loving contact with their neighbor. They don't need some paid professional with an agenda. You see consistently that stable families produce mentally healthy children, that people in happy neighborhoods and communities are happier themselves. This is not rocket science. The best mental health treatment is a strong family and a strong community. And, just an added bonus, I mean, God gives us dogs. I mean, what I have seen as an innovation on college campuses that actually works, not counselors, not mental health guidance folks, but they've literally started having puppies, either canines in the police department or adjuncts to their doctor's office on campus, going around and just being petted. And it's funny, but they've done studies. I actually think the studies are needless, but they've done studies that have confirmed that it improves physical and mental health to pet a dog. It improves happiness and mood to pet a dog. So if you want to improve mental health, if the governor wants to invest in that, have a couple of puppies and let's make sure we have a strong moral society. But some professional with an agenda is not going to get us there. Second, when it comes to guns, simple multiple choice test. You have to rob someone. You have a gun to your head and you have to rob someone. Person A has a gun, person B doesn't. Who do you rob? And if your answer is person B, you understand why soft targets are a serious problem and why gun control doesn't work. A rational person who's choosing between robbing A or B is going to go for the unarmed person every time.
Oh, I got you. No, I agree 100%. You're right on the money there. You're right on target there. Yeah, you got to have a gun. You got to be able to protect yourself. You have to be able to protect yourself. I want to show you guys something now. I'll go to Brian here for a second, but I just got to lighten this up a little bit because I did some shopping at Walmart, okay? And I love Walmart. I got to show you some of the film here from Walmart. I love it, man. Look at that. I think that's one of the store workers. If you notice, it says customer service right behind there. So he must have been one of the customer service employees. They didn't like the service thing.
Walmart.
Yeah, good old Walmart. Anyhow, never a dull day when you're at Walmart, that's for sure. But
I wanted to ask Jonathan and Commissioner Plechnik, do you think the trans movement, along with the Pride movement, these are all meant to divide and conquer our society? Yes. To get everybody, at war with each other, so eventually there's a civil war? Is there any? You think that's an agenda?
Yeah, I've covered that actually in great detail. I don't know which place to begin. There's a lot of detail to absorb. I'm going to throw a couple of breadcrumbs out for anybody that's interested in figuring out what's happening and understanding why it's happening. The first thing to know is there's nothing new under the sun. This whole notion of like, wow, we're like sexually free for children, and we're liberating the children's sexuality complete. It's been done over and over again before. Look up Weimar Republic. I mean, it happened huge in the Weimar Republic. We just didn't expect it to happen here. But also know about, there's an expression, how to defeat America without firing a single shot. Something called the two generals. These are different little breadcrumbs, but knowing and understanding little bits of history can help a lot. And not only to kind of put things in perspective, but also start to figure out ways of reversing it and fighting back. But the two generals comes out of China, and you've got Yuri Bremnovich, who came. He escaped as a KGB agent and came over to the United States and talked about how the communists planned to infiltrate and ruin America from within. But basically, in a nutshell, for purposes of our audience, we have the largest and second largest armies in the world. The first largest army, the first largest military, is the United States military. The second largest unofficial military is the U.S. citizen. There's so many firearms in this country and that's why that's a target of the left. They'd love to disarm us, like the communist socialists have done time and time again before with Australia, Germany, and places like them. But my point is that what we're experiencing in the United States is an anything but strategy. Nobody wants to go up against the military or a physical fight with the U.S. citizen. So what they're doing is just gradually piecemeal trying to infiltrate all of our systems, our healthcare system, our currency, our financial systems, Wall Street and things like it, education system, healthcare, all of it. Last piece of that, for anybody that's interested in figuring this stuff out, starting to inform and educate themselves, there's a really important expression to know, and that is the long, slow march. When I first heard the expression, probably grade school or whatever it was, I actually visualized people marching in a muddy path, maybe at night, with a bunch of soldiers marching them along with rifles and forcing them to march. The expression actually refers to the march through institutions. It means that communism piecemeal gradually takes over our judicial system, our legal system, our executive branch, our education system, transportation and logistics. It is an objective of bad people, counter to America, taking things over gradually. It's referred to as the long, slow march. So yes, absolutely. The whole LGBTQ plus thing, and actually, Joe, give me two more things here. My view is actually one of hope and encouragement. I firmly believe that LGBTQ plus showed up because racism isn't what our enemies thought it would be. For decades, they've been picking at us, pitting black against white and white against black, and created the whole BLM thing. And we had to put up yard signs, and we gave them $1 billion or whatever, so 3 corrupt ladies can go and buy mansions or whatever they were doing. That's my take on BLM. What it ultimately helped no black lives. But ultimately, in viewing the United States as having that weak link, that weakest point of attack being black and white, I think a lot of people were surprised because we might what was the expression people were using? Like, yeah, I may mess with my brother, but as soon as you mess with my brother, I'm stepping to and I'm going to defend him. A lot of black people were defending whites under attack and racist attacks, and same vice versa. So I think LGBTQ rolled out because you need to have oppressor and oppressed in order to install social communism. They had to pivot somewhere, and they went into the sexuality thing. It's been done before. It's just a simply slightly different approach. The last piece, and that goes to the video you showed, Joe. My view, as I watched tons of that stuff, it's now pervasive all over social media. It is all horribly damaging, detrimental, and maliciously bad about Black America. It's just with the twerking and all that stuff, I believe that is meant to demoralize and degrade Black America as a counter to all those years of Black can do no wrong under BLM. It is a systematic attack, I suggest, and what's being done is the social media and media will find the worst elements of Black society and broadcast the heck out of them to try and drive white anger, and they do the same thing on the other side. I've got Black conservative friends who are inundated all day long with oppressive, just nasty, worst of the worst white people. That's what they're doing to us. The moment you recognize that, and you see these Waffle House and Target and Walmart videos, yeah, there are Black people fighting. And broadcasting that as if that is some sort of representation of Black life is horribly damaging, and they know it. It's being done for that reason, to try and drive up white anger and divide us. Recognize it, and I suggest everyone needs to do the first thing that I said happened in the United States during the BLM thing. Rally together, form a unity, rally under the flag or whatever it is, whatever it takes, and don't let bad people divide us. Divided we fall.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I would add something, Joe, to that, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I would say one answer would be we need to start living by the Ten Commandments again, and one of those is to love thy neighbor. And right now, that's a commandment, but many of us are just viewing that as a suggestion. Yep. So I happened to go to Middlefield the last couple of days and went into Mary Yoder's restaurant. And the very first thing as I walked in the door, I saw a big plaque of the Ten Commandments. You don't see that very much around anymore. So hats off to the Amish in Middlefield.
Yeah, you're right. You don't see that too much, and you probably wouldn't see that at Cracker Barrel. At least not with the
I'm guessing,
new design. I don't think they would have that. Yeah, yeah. But this whole thing, yeah, you're right. A lot of, in what Jonathan was saying, and everything. A lot of this is just to divide us. I think it's obvious after a while. It is just to divide us. The families, the breakdown of the family. You're talking about mental problems, and John Pleshnik was talking about that too. But look at the divorce rate. The divorce rate has gone through the roof. And is there any coincidence that mental health has gone through the roof? Plus, we're getting so many shots nowadays and so much medication. It's hard to find anybody who's not on some kind of medication. It's just, Big Pharma just wants to have everybody induced, chemically induced, it seems like.
Yeah, Kennedy's going to reveal, I think it's next month, the cause of autism, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very interesting to see what he has to reveal. And I don't know, but my guess is we've been doing it to these children probably with the vaccines.
Absolutely. And the problem here is the combination of the vaccines, because you can have a vaccine being okay in and of itself, but then when you're getting 5 of them at a time and stuff from 5 different types of vaccines and whatever, the combination of all of them working on an individual can cause problems. That's something that they're not researching, but it's common sense, I think, after a while. He shows a chart how these problems with autism and stuff had just skyrocketed. It was like this, and all of a sudden it just goes straight up. So right. we've got to get smarter. We have to call it out, and thank God somebody like him is going to call it out, because we need to start speaking the truth. We don't need these jabs for everything. You know, the kids in the old days, a few vaccine shots and you were good to go. It's not like today. You don't have to get 60 of them, for crying out loud. So it's kids, it's
Right.
the older generations, everybody. They want last time I went to the doctor, he's a young guy, and he just wanted me on everything. And he goes, 10 years from now, you might have this, start popping this pill. It could stop and prevent you. And, everything. He just wanted me, just opening my mouth and just start tossing pills in it, and they're just told to do that. That is right. The pharmaceutical company doing that and telling them to do it. All right, I'm going to get the last word here. We're going to do a short session tonight. We're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to let the commish wrap it up. So give us some parting words here, will you?
So I think that the struggle that Jonathan and Brian are talking about is far older. There's a reason why Ronald Reagan referred to the United States as a shining city on the hill. There's a reason why Abraham Lincoln, and before him the founding fathers, referred to us as an experiment. Because America is something unique. It's really the only place with true freedom and a real middle class. And the royalty, the wealthy, the powerful, the rest of the world still resents the fact that normal, everyday people can live a good life, can accomplish their dreams or practically anything by coming to America. It's a revolution that they still want to tamp down. From their perspective, the work of King George III is not yet over. And they need to end the revolution that started nearly 250 years ago. And we need to recognize that this is a precious one-time, one-place experiment in this world, that there will never be another United States of America. And this is really a fight for its soul. What they want, when we talk about communism, when we talk about socialism, we're really talking about dictatorship. We're really talking about tyranny. It's no different from the kings and the dukes of old. One guy, one gal, and their rich friends run everything. And that's the way they want to go back to. And they have a lot of naive idiots who think that they'll be part of the ruling class, when in reality they'll be serfs just like us. But that's what we're really talking about. They want to end the American experiment. They want to get rid of the uppity middle class, and they want to put the peasants back in their place. But these peasants have guns, and we're going nowhere.
Yeah, you got it. You got to save on to your guns.
100%, Commissioner, 100%.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Good luck, everybody. Have a
Thanks,
nice
Joe.
weekend and all that. All right, take care.
Thanks,
Good
Jonathan.
night, all.
Thanks, Commissioner.